While most of the Vanderbilts were constructing marble palaces in the Gilded Age, there was one who just wanted to get away from it all and live on a farm. Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we're trading pampered living for hard work as we visit Shelburne Farms. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. This video is brought to you in part by Victorian Society in America. More on them later. In the late 1800s, William Seward Webb and Lila Vanderbilt made a striking pair. William was born into a prominent New York family in 1851, the son of a noted diplomat, James Watson Webb. Educated as a medical doctor, William initially practiced medicine, even studying in Vienna and Paris, but fate pulled him into the world of business and railroads. In 1881, he married Lila Vanderbilt, and by marrying into the Vanderbilt dynasty, he effectively married into one of the greatest fortunes of the era. Lila was the youngest daughter of William H. Vanderbilt, who had doubled the Vanderbilt Railroad fortune and was reputedly the world's wealthiest man at the time of his passing in 1885. This inheritance made Lila Vanderbilt one of the richest women in the country, and it equipped the newlywed Webbs with extraordinary means to pursue their dreams. The Vanderbilts were American royalty of the Gilded Age, known for building mansions and lavish estates. Lila's own siblings constructed famous palaces, from New York's Fifth Avenue to Newport's Bellevue Avenue. But Lila and William charted a different course. Rather than another city chateau or showpiece summer cottage, they envisioned a working country estate where modern scientific farming would unfold on a grand scale. Thanks to Lila's inheritance, the Webbs had the resources to act on this vision. At the urging of Lila's family, William left medicine for finance and took the helm of a Vanderbilt-controlled railroad company, quickly establishing himself as a railroad mogul. By the mid-1880s, with wealth, status, and a shared dream, the Webbs were ready to embark on an ambitious venture that combined their high society standing with a passion for the land. They turned their eyes north to Vermont, a place of bucolic charm far from New York's bustle. In 1886, the couple began quietly purchasing farm after farm on the shores of Lake Champlain near the village of Shelburne. Over the next decade, they acquired 33 separate farms, ultimately amassing nearly 4,000 acres of contiguous land on the Shelburne Peninsula. Piece by piece, the Webbs stitched together an enormous property whose very name, Shelburne Farms, reflects this patchwork of many farms rolled into one. The location was ideal. The land jutted into Lake Champlain, offering gentle hills, fertile fields, and panoramic views of the Adirondack Mountains to the west and Vermont's Green Mountains to the east. From the start, the Webbs knew that to realize their dream estate, they would need the best minds of the day. They enlisted a trio of renowned professionals to shape Shelburne Farms' landscape and architecture. Preeminent landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted Sr., famed designer of Central Park, was hired in 1886 to lay out the grounds. Working closely with Olmsted was Gifford Pinchot, a pioneering forester and future U.S. Forest Service chief who advised on managing the woodlands. For the buildings, the Webbs chose New York architect Robert Henderson Robertson, who would ultimately design over 30 structures on the estate. With this powerhouse team, the transformation began in earnest. Olmsted's vision for Shelburne Farms was a grand farm forest park, dividing the estate into functional yet scenic zones. Roughly 2/3 of the acreage was dedicated to working farmland, crisscrossed by elegant stands of trees and bordered by managed woodlands. He plotted out 11 miles of curving, crushed stone farm roads and 8 miles of walking and riding trails, all carefully aligned with the natural topography. Robert Robertson's contribution was no less impressive. He designed a harmonious collection of buildings in a blended Queen Anne and shingle style, using local materials to root them in Vermont soil. Whether gazing at the rising towers of the farm barn or wondering about the wooded trails, each building bore a sense of familiarity and cohesive unity. We'll take a look at some of the largest structures first, starting with the breeding barn. To lend a better sense of scale, we can move in towards the main entrance where we can see people dwarf below the grand archway. Inside, the space was wide open, with ceilings soaring several stories high. Next we can travel over to the coach barn, which is essentially a massive garage and workshop. Inside you would find the estate staff working every day in the tack room, and beyond that, you would see the family's collection of over 80 different carriages stored away and perfectly polished. As we continue about the grounds, we'll find rows of greenhouses housing over 3 acres of interiors. Of all these wonders spread about the grounds, one building stood out above the rest. Perched atop Saxton Point, a promontory with commanding lake views, Shelburne House began as a large country cottage around 1887 and gradually evolved into a sprawling chateau by 1899. The finished home was an eclectic mix of Elizabethan revival grandeur and shingle-style informality, reflecting Lila's refined taste and the casual luxury of a lakeside retreat. Gabled roofs, half-timbered facades, and shingle surfaces mingled with elegant brick chimneys and carved stonework. Before we head inside, a quick word about the sponsor of today's video, Victorian Society in America. Are you captivated by historic architecture? Want to explore, learn, and dive even deeper into the past? With the Victorian Society in America, you'll have the chance to travel to American cities and tour stunning 19th century buildings, pursue learning through internationally acclaimed summer programs in American cities and abroad, including Chicago, Newport, and London to name a few. Additionally, members will enjoy a free subscription to 19th Century, the semi-annual publication packed with articles on art, architecture, preservation awards, and book reviews. Visit the website below in the video description and become part of the Victorian Society in America today. Thank you, Victorian Society in America, for sponsoring this video. Now back to our tour. Inside, and much like the grounds, the house was a mix of both formal and very functional space. The dining room, which was also known as the marble room, was finished out with marble floor tile and damask wallpaper. To the side, natural light pours in through the conservatory over sunbathed orchids and tropical plants. To one end of the dining room is the game room, where gentlemen would gather after dinner for a game of pool. At the other end of the dining room, and a bit further away, we find the tea room, where the ladies might retreat after luncheon. This room also doubled as the breakfast room, where the family could gather for less formal meals. Heading further into the house, we find the library bursting at the seams with a reported 6,000 books stuffed into its built-in bookshelves. To the far end, we find a cozy corner where desks and chairs are piled in by the fireplace. The glory days of Shelburne Farms as a private estate were relatively brief, as the estate peaked in the early 1900s and soon faced the headwinds of changing times. By the 1910s, the agricultural ambitions had begun to wane. The Webbs themselves were aging, and the Gilded Age gave way to new realities. Income tax, world war, and shifting social norms made such vast estates harder to maintain. In 1926, Dr. Webb passed away at Shelburne Farms at the age of 75. Lila outlived him by a decade, continuing to spend summers on the estate until her own passing in 1936 at the age of 76. With Lila's passing, an era truly ended. The estate's operation had always depended on a unified fortune and singular vision, both of which faded with the Webbs. The property was inherited by their children, but the Great Depression of the 1930s and the agricultural downturn made the high-cost model farm impractical. Financial pressures and the practical realities of dividing an estate among heirs led to the fracturing of the property. Various parcels were bequeathed, sold, or transferred to different family members or outsiders over the next few decades. The Shelburne House mansion itself stayed in the family and was lived in continuously, though by the 1960s it too showed signs of faded glory, outdated systems, peeling wallpaper, and a century of wear on its bones. In 1972, the decision was made to incorporate the house as a nonprofit, which continues to persist to this day as a place of learning and as an inn. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about Shelburne Farms? Did anything stick out to you? Let me know down below in the comments section. I'd also like to extend a special thank you to Victorian Society in America for sponsoring this video. Visit their website, which is linked down below in the video description, to find out how you can get involved today. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time on This House.